Hello, I'm Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about the astrology that takes place between August 22nd, which is the second full moon in Aquarius, through to September 7th, which is the new moon in Virgo. So today we're going to talk about the astrology that takes place from the second full moon in Aquarius to the new moon in Virgo. So let's look at the full moon in Aquarius. Now I just did a video on this with information for each sign going through this full moon, but I think it's important for us to remember that it is the second time we've had a full moon in Aquarius. This is a rare occurrence, but for this lunation, Jupiter accompanies the moon, which means that it's going to expand our emotions and also the weather surrounding this full moon. And that's going to be the really big and important point about this full moon. Jupiter will bring a sense of exaggeration, and it will surge these emotional reactions, which I want to encourage you to resist reacting that way, but resist expressing these exaggerated emotions, because they're artificially pumped up, and you don't need to pour petrol on the fire, as the English say. Okay. Also, this is going to affect weather events, so I want to make sure that everybody's aware that for this full moon we could have extremely high tides, we could have high water levels in the rivers, in lakes, etc. We could have flooding, because we still are under the auspices of the Saturn-Uranus square all year long. Saturn being in Aquarius, which is wind, Uranus being in Taurus, which is the earth, and we've also got an involvement with some Leo planets bringing fire. So I just want you to be aware that all of the elements pretty much are involved in these weather events that are coming along with the full moon on August 22nd. About an hour or two after the full moon culminates in Aquarius at 29 degrees 37 minutes, it changes signs to Pisces. So this is going to be another shift and kind of a quirky thing about this full moon. For some of you, this is going to affect different houses, different areas of life in your chart. For some of you, it'll just be a feeling of change of energy, and some of you may not notice it at all. Now let's talk about the actual planetary aspects that are going on. On August 21st, Now let's talk about the actual planetary aspects that are going on. On August 24th, we have Mercury conjunct Mars in Virgo. Now Virgo is a very meticulous sign. It likes things to be precise, but dainty, small, detailed. And Mars is all about energy and aggression and pushing things out. So you're going to be very energetically analyzing things, having a lot of confidence about your meticulous work, but very picky. You are going to have facts and figures at your fingertips that are so important to you, but most other people will not want to hear it, because Mars is going to shoot you out there to gather all of this energy, and Mercury is going to notice all these little fine details. The moon will be conjunct Neptune in Pisces as it goes along. So a couple days after the full moon, it actually meets up with Neptune. And this is going to give us an even bigger emotional response than we had when the moon was full with Jupiter sitting next to it. So again, be careful of the emotional output, of the emotional reaction that you give to things right now. It's going to be overblown. It's going to be exaggerated. And in the case of Neptune in Pisces, you may not even realize that what you're reacting to may not be true. It may be false. Also, during the moon conjuncting Neptune in Pisces, we want to be very careful about overindulging in alcohol, and also about certain medicines, any medicines actually. So if you are prone to being really sensitive to medicines, be careful during this time. If you're doing like any kind of procedures where you need to take medicine or take any kind of medicine into your body, be very careful. If you can reschedule it for even a few days later, it will make a difference because the moon won't be exactly sitting on top of Neptune. Emotions will be very hard to explain during this transit. You will feel like you're not quite sure who's telling you the truth. You may even hear yourself saying things that aren't quite true, or you may notice people really misunderstanding what you are talking about. So thankfully the moon moves very quickly through the signs, so this won't last for very long. Now let's move on to the moon conjunct Chiron in Aries. Chiron is all about healing. The moon is about yourself, your feminine aspects, but also your daily habits and moods. And very often it does relate to your health because it relates to the stomach, and a lot of people have digestive issues. Chiron and the moon together may relate to healthcare workers, so they may be spotlighted for a few days. Also, if you have anything that needs to be healed, a trauma, a wound of any kind, emotional or physical, you will very keenly feel that need right now when the moon and Chiron are conjunct. You may not be able to get the healing now, but you should seek out whatever you need for healing right now. Also, you could give this up to your higher angels and ask them to help you to heal, or ask them to help you identify what needs to be healed. Chiron and the moon work with your emotions, they work with your moods and your body. So it's not an either or thing. It's kind of all of that stuff. The moon in Aries is usually a bit selfish, but with Chiron there, you're going to be much more giving. Also on August 25th, we have Venus in Libra conjuncting Vesta in Libra. Now, some astrologers attribute Vesta to be the new ruling planet of Libra. And it makes sense. Vesta is all about fairness. It's very feminine. It has to do with women's rights, speaking up for your rights, which is a very Libran thing to do. So Venus conjunct Vesta in the sign of Libra is just double power of feminine assertiveness, fairness, legal issues being decided in a very fair way, especially when they have to do with women who have been subjugated or abused in some way. So you're going to feel love and fairness when this aspect is taking place. You will have a need to feel very well. You will also have a need to enjoy the people in your life and the groups in your life that make you feel good. You will appreciate these things. You will want to identify them, to claim them, and you'll want to feel joy. That's the predominant goal for the timing of this aspect, Vesta and Venus. And then we put that all together and we have the moon and Chiron in Aries opposing Venus and Vesta in Libra. So this is where our health issues are not being met, or health workers are not being supported. There may be some kind of a crisis having to do with health workers. I know that this country in general just does not have enough health workers. Even though we've got millions, we have just tested our health workers so sorely in the last 2 years. It's a wonder that they still feel like they can do their job. If you know somebody who is a health worker, if it's safe to do so, give them a hug. They really need it. And during this period from the full moon to the new moon, be careful about medicine and alcohol. I can't say that enough. It's just going to be a really sensitive time. People are going to be very sensitive about that during this time. Also on 25th, we have Mercury and Mars opposing the moon and Neptune in Virgo. So we have Mercury and Mars in Virgo and Neptune in Pisces with the moon. So the Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012, and it's going to be there until 2026. But this aspect could bring about some very memorable reactions because it has to do with Mercury, which is our memory. Mars is agitating it or energizing it. And then we have the moon, which is also having to do with memory, more emotional memories, along with Neptune. So we could have something kind of remarkable happen that creates a memory here. But during this Mercury conjunct Mars in opposition to Neptune, we want to believe in the fantastic, in the spiritual, in whatever people are selling us, the snake oil salesman. We want to believe all that stuff, and we will make mistakes. We'll make mistakes in the way we react to these people and how we believe them. And we may not realize our mistakes until the new moon. We may be so wrapped up in the ball of confusion that we just don't see the forest for the trees. So I hate to say don't trust yourself, but from August 25th to September 7th, you want to be very, very careful about believing claims that seem too good to be true, or claims that are just way different than what you normally believe. Just be really, really suspect or suspicious of people who are claiming things that just seems, you know, out of the blue and extraordinary. This could also indicate some very threatening weather having to do with, again, with water, oceans, seas, lakes, rivers, rain. Aquarius is involved. That's air, because we have Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, and fire, and this is because the moon is still in late degrees of Aries. On August 28th, the moon will conjunct Uranus, which is retrograde in Taurus at this time. Moon conjunct Uranus is going to be really interesting. We are going to feel jumpy. We're going to be energized. We're going to be inspired. We're going to feel an electrical boost to our emotional needs, to our moods, to probably our family life. So I would not be surprised if in the aftermath of the weather events that we just talked about, we had some electrical events take place that affect people's homes, which would be the moon. And in addition, this configuration is going to trine Mercury conjunct Mars in Virgo. So that's good. That means that we're going to be able to fix things quickly. It means that people are going to be able to identify what the problems were. If there were problems, say the weather created, you know, destruction of some kind, or took down power lines or something like that, they're going to be able to identify and fix them very, very quickly under this aspect, which is really good. It's also better for our safety. I also want to point out that the moon conjunct Uranus, Uranus is what we discover. It is about outer space, the unknown. It's about electricity, the internet, forward thinking, the future, the individual, the electrical system in general. So and the moon is your thought. It isn't your thinking, that's Mercury, but it is your feelings about things, which you think about, right? So during this moon conjunct Uranus retrograde, you may discover something. First of all, you may just discover a brand new thing that you never knew before. It could be something about your family, it could be something about somebody you know, it could be something you want to invent, it could be a business idea, it could be anything, but you're going to discover something. That discovery needs to wait until the new moon in order to be implemented. So hang on to that idea, and we're going to talk more about this in a minute. On August 30th, we have the transiting moon conjuncting black moon Lilith. So black moon Lilith is a point in the sky. It's not an actual planet, for those of you who are thinking, black moon Lilith, she's never talked about that before. I don't use it very much in my natal readings or my future forecast readings. Black moon Lilith represents what we don't know. That could be a secret. It could be just things we haven't studied yet, things we haven't found out, or it could also be the great unknown. So black moon Lilith is this little scary dark place where we don't know. We don't know what's going on with that. So when the moon conjuncts black moon Lilith, we are looking at things and curious about things that we don't know about, and we're hoping to discover information. We're hoping to find out about things. So transiting moon is conjuncting black moon Lilith, and also at the same time the moon will be conjuncting the north node. Now Black Moon Lilith and the North Node are going to be together for 9 months in Gemini. So there's something important right now about the moon conjuncting Black Moon Lilith on this date and also trining these other planets. So pay attention on August 30th. There's something that you need to uncover. Also, with the trine to Vesta and Venus in Libra, that gives us a hint that all of this has to do with feminine energy. So just put that in your hat. Hang on to that little tidbit. Something that's really important to understand is that because we're going to be striving to figure out what it is that we don't know, and because the moon and Black Moon Lilith and the North Node, by the way, are all in the sign of Gemini, this pulls in a Mercury association. Because Mercury is conjunct Mars, we are very impulsive at this time. This impulse on August 30th with the moon conjunct Black Moon Lilith, creating this potential for something to be obtained that is very, very nice for you. It could be a gentle discovery. It doesn't have to be like an earth-shaking thing. It could be just something that's really nice for you to discover. It could be something that you uncover that has been, held back from you before. You couldn't figure it out before. But because Black Moon Lilith and the North Node are in Gemini and the moon at this moment on the 30th, you're questioning the truth. You're being asked to question this and to really ask if it's really true. I mean, we also have the involvement of Neptune being in Pisces, which is very strong and which is clouding and hazing everything over. So hang on to this information, whatever goes on from the 28th to the 30th. Hang on to this information. Keep it close to your chest and live with it for a little while. It'll only be less than 10 days until the new moon on September 7th, because the new moon is the time to start things. So if you want this, if you want to use this information, this very nice little thing that you just got, you want to wait until the new moon to really put it into the mix. Okay? Now, Vesta in this mix, in the trine with Black Moon Lilith, the moon, and then Venus, the conjunction with Venus. Vesta also represents partnerships and collectives and cooperation, forging stronger bonds with others. So part of what you might discover is something to do with collectives, partnerships, and others. It might not be a discovery about something about you, about yourself. So it might not be on that personal level. It may be more on a collective level. So again, just sit with it. Just don't jump the gun with doing something about it right away. Just give it a chance to not fester, but give it a chance to evolve. I just want to mention that on August 31st, Mercury is going to enter Libra. Now, you'll find that once Mercury is in Libra, everybody's a little more social and a little more talkative, not so picky, not so critical. The fussiness and the precision of Virgo are gone, but not forgotten. I mean, Libra wants things to be very nice too. Virgo really looks at the details of everything. It'll present as visual. I'm a Libra and I have my moon in Virgo. So if I look at something that's very well done, I do look at the details. But I have to admit that I also step back and I look at the overall picture because I want it to be aesthetically pleasing. So there's going to be talk, and more talk because Libra's left to talk, obviously. And where Virgo is usually head down and just going about their business and getting things done, Libra's going to stop along the way and socialize with each person that they meet. Libra also reaches out to others, and you're going to find that after August 31st as well, that people are more social, they're more willing to take the hand. Libra will find a way to connect with other people. So enjoy that period while Mercury is in Libra, because when it goes into Scorpio, it's going to be all business. Okay, now let's move on to just some general advice about handling this last week to 10 days moving into the new moon. Just some things to keep in mind. We have 5 retrograde planets going on right now. We have Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus. And big retrograde planets like this don't act like Mercury retrograde, but they do change the energy. They pull back on the energy. So if you are trying to get something done that has to do with where Saturn is in your chart, like maybe your career, there could be more than usual delays happening with that. Same with Jupiter. Jupiter will not squelch the idea or the project, but it could delay the actual implementation of it. Now, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are much slower moving planets. They take way longer to get through a sign and way longer to get through the whole zodiac. So having those planets retrograde is not such a personal impact, but it does have an impact. It's more looking at the whole generation that you're in, or the whole country gets affected, things like that. So when Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are retrograde, they're not holding you back from much. But Saturn and Jupiter will, because they're considered personal planets and they move faster. And then I want you to consider some other big events that are going on as far as the planets go. First off, now Pluto is squaring an asteroid called Eris. Eris is also a very slow mover like Pluto. Eris is actually about the same size as Pluto, and it's Mars's sister. So this is an aggressive, warlike planet, a warrior, a planet that gives voice to our own advocacy. It allows us to speak up for ourselves or fight for ourselves. It allows us to speak up and fight for others who we relate to. But it's a warrior goddess, Eris, and it's the sister to Mars. Pluto is squaring this and is more or less all through 2020 and most of 2021. This has been in effect, and it will be squaring until it's coming to an end, actually, the first week in October. So Pluto is an especially sensitive planet for our country right now, and so having Eris square like this has put us under overall simmering, boiling pot of potential violence in this country. So that's something to keep in mind for this period. Now, Pluto square Eris is really about evolution, because Pluto is all about revealing the corruption and the decay and anything that is just not fit for moving forward in the future, and Eris is that warrior energy. So Pluto square Eris is saying evolve, change, or die. And what's happening is that the world is changing and we need to change. If we don't, we will die. Then we have the Pluto return for the US. Now, a natal return is when a planet returns to its placement that you had when you were born. For instance, I was born with Jupiter in Virgo. So every 12 years when Jupiter hits Virgo, I have a Jupiter return, because it's going to come over the same degree and sign that it was in when I was born. For the USA chart, we are in existence long enough that we're going to have a Pluto return. Now, Pluto takes 248 years to go through the entire zodiac, and so that's about how old our country is, right? It's going to actually be exact in 2024, but we have been feeling the effects of the natal return of Pluto ever since Pluto went into Capricorn. I believe that was 2001, which is when we had 9/11, which is why we're going through such extraordinary changes to our government, to our country. I mean, we're going to continue to go through extraordinary changes right on through to 2024. And then there's the Saturn square Uranus aspect, which is pretty much ruling us from the end of 2020 all the way through the beginning of 2022. You should see my video on the Saturn-Uranus cycle. This is what encapsulates or bookends the eras in the United States history. And right now we are coming into the tail end of one of those eras having to do with an air sign, having to do with Gemini. And air is what the future is all about for this country. We need to look at all the Aquarius planets that are going on right now and realize that this is hope. This is hope for the future. This is astrology pointing the way to the future for this country, and we will go there. Be sure to watch my video on the Saturn-Uranus cycle. It's a two-part video where I talk about the history of the United States and I show where the cycle of Saturn and Uranus have hit and how important these two planets are in our evolution as a country. So it's an interesting, it's only two videos, but it's an interesting series. And let's not forget about the great conjunction that we had last December. That is still influencing us. That will be influencing us for the next 200 years. Jupiter and Saturn meeting in Aquarius. It did not exactly say, okay, now we're in the age of Aquarius, but it certainly heralded a big focus on air signs. And given that we just had the Saturn-Uranus cycle starting up, it actually started back in 1988 in Gemini, another air sign, we are continually grabbing more and more air energy, which takes you to the future. Air energy is mental, it's social, it's social activism, it's the people, it's not just you know, earth, it's not just growing vegetables and feeding ourselves and sustaining mankind. It's evolving our governments, it's evolving the next level of how do you take care of a very large group of people, or any, you know, many large groups of people, you know, multiple groups of people. How do you do this? And the Jupiter-Saturn cycle is an integral part of that. If you'd like me to do a video about the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, leave me a comment down below, because I like these historical things. I like going back and looking at history and seeing how the planets affected us all the way through. The main thing I want to get across is, well, actually there's two main things. Don't overreact to things and try to hold on to your emotional responses until the new moon on September 7th. Also, be really careful about medicine and alcohol from August 22nd through September 7th. Remember that you're going to have this amazing discovery between August 28th and August 30th that you should still hang on to till September 7th, but it's going to be a wow. It's going to be a big deal for you. And don't miss that. Don't just, you know, get up and go to work every day and come home and watch TV. Think about these things. These are important things for your own evolution. And I will be doing a video about the new moon in September when the time comes, but right now I'm just focusing on this astrology. And leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think of these videos, what other videos you would like me to do, and I'll get on it and do them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.